In this movie, I'll show you how to create an actual animation file with sequential frames that play on screen inside Photoshop. But we have to work carefully. And the reason is because when you're creating an animation file, you have to work small. You don't want to be animating huge images like this one. And that means we need to downsample. And the problem is that Puppet Warp effects applied to smart objects do not downsample reliably. So the first thing we need to do is rasterize all of our smart objects. So go to the Layers panel and notice this icon right there, Filter for Smart Objects. If you click on it, you'll only see a list of smart objects inside this image. The next thing you want to do is go up to the Select menu and choose All Layers, or press Ctrl-Alt-A or Command-Option-A on the Mac. And because all we can see is smart objects inside the Layers panel, that's all we select. Then, with the rectangular marquee tool, right-click inside the image window and choose Rasterize Smart Object. And that'll go ahead and convert all those smart objects to static pixel-based layers. And as a result, you will no longer see any smart objects inside the Layers panel. So to bring back all your layers, you just need to click on that Smart Objects icon again to turn it off. Now we need to downsample the image. So go up to the Image menu and choose the Image Size command, or press Ctrl-Alt-I or Command-Option-I on the Mac. And make sure that all three checkboxes are selected down here: Scale Styles, Constraint Proportions, and Resample Image. And you want your interpolation to be set to bicubic, best for smooth gradients. That's going to give you by far the best results here. Then change the width value to 1080 pixels, and that'll change the height value automatically to 720 pixels, and then click OK. And now, thanks to the fact we're working exclusively with pixel-based layers, along with a few shape layers and a text layer, everything downsamples just fine. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Now, in order to convert our layers into animated frames, we need to bring up the Timeline panel, either by clicking on the word Timeline down here in the lower left corner of the screen, or you can go up to the Window menu and choose Timeline instead. Then you'll see this little button right here in the middle. Now, by default, it's set to Create Video Timeline. You want to click on this down pointing arrowhead and change it to Create Frame Animation, and then click on that button in order to create a single frame. That, of course, is not what we want. We want to convert the layers to frames. So go ahead and click on this flyout menu icon. And the first thing I'm going to do is choose Panel Options, because I want to make sure that my thumbnails are as big as possible. So go ahead and select that final item so you can see what you're doing, and then click OK. And then click on that flyout menu icon again and choose Make Frames from Layers. And that's going to go ahead and create a frame for every single layer in the image. Now, we don't need frames for every layer because, after all, this is just a background for all the frames. So to get rid of the first frame here, go ahead and drop down to the little trash icon located at the bottom of the Timeline panel and Alt-click on it, or Option-click on it on the Mac. And the reason we're Alt or Option clicking is so we don't get an alert message. Then scroll all the way over to the right-hand side, and you'll see a bunch of frames for your shape and text layers. Go ahead and click on frame 20 and shift-click on frame 26. You should get exactly the same results I'm getting here. And then, once again, Alt-click or Option-click on that trash can icon in order to get rid of them. At this point, you should now have 19 frames left. Click on the flyout menu icon once again and choose Select All Frames, and then drop down to the bottom of the Layers panel and turn on the background so that we can see the sky and back of the bird. All right, now for a few tweaks. I want the first and last frames to have a slight delay associated with them. So click on 0 sec down here in the bottom right corner of any one of the selected frames and choose 0.1 seconds. And that way the frames will hang for just a moment, for 1/10 of a second. Then click on frame 18, because 19 is the last one. Go ahead and scroll all the way over to the left-hand side and shift-click on frame 2. So all but the first and last frames are selected. We don't want these frames to have any delay. So click on the 0.1 second in the lower right corner of any one of the selected frames and choose No Delay. And that way they'll play continuously. All right, now we want to copy these guys. Notice that they represent, if I go ahead and click the Play Animation button here, down at the bottom of the Timeline panel, you can see that the animation that we have, well, in my case, it was very brief because I had the next to last frame selected. I'll go ahead and click on the first frame in the timeline and then click on the Play button again. And you can see all we've got is the wings going down. We also need the wings to come up. So select those intermediate frames once again, 18 all the way back through 2. So click on one and shift-click on the other. We want everything but frames 1 and 19 selected. And then click on the flyout menu icon to bring up the menu and choose Copy Frames. Then you want to scroll all the way to the right-hand side again. Seems like we're doing a lot of scrolling here. Click on frame 19 to make it active. Click on the flyout menu icon and choose Paste Frames in order to paste those frames at the end of the animation. And make sure the paste method is set to paste after selection, as it is by default, and click OK. Now, finally, what we want to do is scroll over to the right again. Now we should have some new frames, 20 through 36, and they should all be selected. To reverse their order so that the wings now go down, click on the flyout menu icon and choose Reverse Frames, and that will now play them in the opposite order. Now, to see what we've done here, go ahead and scroll all the way to the beginning of the movie, click on the first frame, click on Once down here in the lower left corner of the screen. That means, by the way, that we're just going to play the animation once on screen. We want it to loop, so go ahead and click on Once and choose Forever in order to watch the animation play over and over again. And then you can either click on this little play button down here in order to play the animation, or you can just press the space bar in order to watch that animation play. And we have now managed to make our bird fly. Now I'm going to go ahead and press the escape key in order to stop the animation. At this point, what you would do, if you were working without me, is you would go up to the File menu and choose Save As. Don't save over your original file, or you'll lose all those smart objects and all those puppet warp settings and the whole shebang, and you don't want that. So you choose Save As, and then save this image as a native PSD document for now. Later, I'll show you how to export it as a QuickTime movie or an animated GIF file. Meanwhile, in the next movie, I'll show you how to animate the text.